Hi, welcome to All the Things with Kana Lee.
Hi, Christy.
Hi, Kana.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. These episodes are all going to be kind of pretty eclectic and pretty on brand for me, I think. Can you hear my dog barking, by the
A
way?
little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For everybody out listening, that's Glue. You'll probably hear him often.
And now you're going to have to cut to a photo at some point and show.
Yes, thank you very much. See,
Mhm.
Chrissy, brilliant, just always brilliant. Which is a great segue for a little bit of intro on who Christy is, how I met her. Christy and I work together at All Raise. All Raise is a nonprofit in the venture capital space serving women and non-binary VCs. And Christy ran all things community. And prior to All Raise, she also spent some time at Nintendo and Major League Soccer. Following this intro, Christy, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about the learnings and the things that you kind of really took away from your time at All Raised.
So much. I think for me, the biggest surprise as someone coming from sports into the world of venture, I learned a ton about venture capital and startups, how, similar the industries were. And, when you look at the numbers from the number of men in leadership positions to women and how, they have to build their own maternity leave plans and things like that. There's so many of the same struggles from pay equity to everything across the board. And so that was definitely interesting for me to understand because I assumed for some reason it would be different. But I think having the ability to talk to so many brilliant community members throughout my time really helped me ramp up on that education quickly. I think that is the sweet sauce of Always is their community,
Mm,
right? They're so
mm.
willing to pitch in and help each other out, make connections, share their knowledge. They show up for each other, whether it's coming to Summit, which also just happened, by the way.
We're recording this in the fall of 2025. VC Summit just wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always just so fun to see the posts and people talking about the little insights that they gathered from the breakout sessions and the side conversations because they don't get to have those types of conversations with the people in their firm, right? So they're really relying on this outside community to one, tell them, are they in the right place? Are they kind of doing the right things? How do they lever up their career? It's just a really brilliant community of women that I admire and that there's just so much that you can take away from them. And I think that's,
Mm.
again, what drives that organization and that industry are those women that are showing up day in and day out for each other.
Yeah, as I listen to you reflect on your time there, it reminds me of the time that we got to spend working together and how much I admired your deep thoughtfulness. And Christy's always been the person that won't give you just an off the cuff, no thought answer. She's not afraid to tell you, hey, I need a little bit of time to think about that. And then she'll come back with 10 bullet points of really well thought out, planned out strategic thinking. And I know I'm talking
Thank you,
about you
Donna.
now in third
Yeah.
person. You're welcome. But I feel this is definitely one of the initial reflections I had of you that I automatically recognized really quickly, right? I'm reminded of our time in Chicago where we walked along the river and talked about all the different strategies and the things that are happening in the community at large. You made me think about how much the community went from like in-person things and then virtual gatherings. What are you noticing with, in-person gatherings and stuff like that?
I honestly think they're back. I think most communities are still a mix of both, right? Because I think to really balance everyone's schedule and give, people the opportunity to kind of pick what they need, like you have to have both. But I think in-person gatherings are really back. I think even for myself, I really feel a strong connection to what's happening in person right now. I've moved to a new city and been here for about a year and a half, right? I don't know as many people. So getting out and really being in person helps. And it just really helps drive sort of the conversations offline as well. Getting that FaceTime, being able to say hi. Now we have a reason to connect again further. I think it's super important to
Mm,
have in person events at the moment. So.
yeah. I agree. Even like across the VC comms community and stuff, the theme is consistently we want to gather, we want to be in person in some way.
Yep.
And, we all kind of still love our virtual life, right? We still love the
Yeah.
convenience of being able to be virtual and work from anywhere and all of that. And building out more intentional gatherings and get-togethers in person. For anybody building community right now, this is sort of a curveball question because I don't think I asked you this question before, but I am curious, for somebody listening who's starting out in the community building space, is there any advice that you would give them, or, is there any advice anybody gave you, that really resonated when you were starting out in building communities?
I think that's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, is Lisa Baroka. So I'm going to give her a quick
shout out Lisa.
Because,
we love her.
Lisa was so wonderful to work with. She worked on the community team, sort of, on the operation side of things, but really driving sort of the systems thinking and like, how do you, build this process? And one of those first things that we always talked about doing was getting that feedback, right? So whether that's a survey or talking to the community, truly understanding what they need and building it from there. I think you can always go into building something with the assumptions that you think you know, and you maybe know 80, 90% of it, right? But I think there are going to be things that surprise you and that can really change the way that you build, whatever type of community that you're building and really make it more valuable for them. So that's where I'd always start. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like knowing the audience, right? Finding out what it is that they actually want and not what you're assuming that they want.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of in-person gatherings, you recently got back from the ESPNW Summit. Tell us all about it, because this is a very high-profile event that not very many people get to go to. Is it always in Ojai, or was it just this year in Ojai?
I think they do rotate it, but they're doing a few years in Ojai, and then maybe they'll change it up again. The last time I went, it was maybe 10 years ago, and I think it was definitely in a different location in California, so they do try to mix it up. So.
Okay. Tell us all about it. What did you learn, see, love, hate, all of it?
For me, at this point in my career and where I'm at, it was really fun to be in a room full of women that are also excited about building women's sports and seeing that momentum, talking about things that you're not going to get probably when you go to other conferences that are maybe focused more on male sports or just sports in general. There was one panel that I really wanted to hear, and it was investing in the women's sports. So Kara Nortman from Monarch Collective, Fielding Jameson from Tipped Ventures, Alana Kloss from Billie Jean King Enterprises. Really powerful panel of people that have really kind of shaped the origins of investing in women's sports. And so for me, just kind of being in that room, one, to hear it, two, to hopefully connect with these people and others, actually, because I actually did meet a couple of others also in the space, which that type of topic drew out, more attendees that were also, interested there. I think it just gives you that opportunity to be in the room, hopefully make those connections with purpose. And then from there, you can start and build a relationship and follow on with additional conversations after. But yeah, I met a lot of great people, probably not as many people as you would think for a conference, but also I think I get a little overwhelmed at conferences too. So I try to be mindful of that. And so I take what I can get, and then I just actually sent a few follow-ups this week to people I didn't get to connect with in the hopes that maybe they'll still have a conversation with me now. And most of them have said yes. So, yay.
Amazing. I feel you on the kind of overwhelm that can show up at conferences, because there's so many people and you have such a short amount of time, and it's always jam-packed with content and things to do. And then I need to get food, and then I also need coffee, and I need to pee, and then I need to jump to the next clock, and where am I going, and all of that kind of stuff shows up. I've never been good, quote unquote, good at working the entire room, right? And but I'll always double down on the magic is in the follow-up. And so that's awesome that you've already started the process and everything. Are there any hot takes or high points that you remember? I mean, Kara Nortman is just such a legend, and all those women that you mentioned. But I have a special soft spot in my heart for Kara because, obviously the link to LA, and she's one of the co-founders of Allraise, saw her in Paris at the Equity Summit. So, but yeah, anything that kind of surprised you or just sort of validated things that you've been thinking about?
One to all of that about Kara and the work that she's done. Definitely someone, if you don't follow her already, would recommend following her now. But one of the things that came up in that panel that really resonated with me was Lana said, when you get a no, it doesn't mean no necessarily. It means I need more information. Like, this is just a starting point for us to continue this conversation. I've always seen it more as like, okay, I need to step back and maybe try a different direction or go to someone else. Whereas their viewpoint was completely different. And hey, maybe we just need to look at what we're presenting and we need to share the information differently. I think that's a really insightful perspective and something I'm trying to carry with me now as I think through various things.
Yeah, that's great insight, especially in the investing community, right? Or if anybody's looking to raise money, your traditional no in almost every other aspect of society doesn't seem to apply in raising money and investors.
So true. Yeah.
And so speaking of relationship building and being in the room, right? Like so much of our lives and, different opportunities comes from being in the right rooms or, I don't know, I'm kind of chastising myself secretly with saying the right room, but being in the room is a big deal. What did it feel like being in the room with rates of women's sports and investing and beyond?
Yeah, that's a good question because I don't take it lightly. I think it is an expensive ticket to get into, right? So I think you have to pick when it makes the most sense to be in those rooms and to kind of pay that price. But I will say, in some other events that I've been to recently, I was able to get a free ticket because one of my friends was speaking on a panel. Shout out, Sarah. Thank you.
Yay,
those
Sarah.
types of things, if you can pull other people up and pull them with you so they can also experience it, I think that's kind of all you can hope for in some cases, right? Again, trying to make those connections. There will be certainly some follow-up conversations, but hopefully some partnerships that come from those conversations that I then will definitely bring people into because I recognize that opportunity came from a very, purposeful position that, not everyone has an opportunity to be a part of. So I think just trying to think through that is really helpful.
Yeah, I definitely have noticed you're always thinking of who else can we bring into these conversations? True community builder at heart. When you think about relationship building, especially for people who can get overwhelmed by, having too many people around them, and especially in a industry that is so, relationship driven, right? Are there things that you do that help you either get through the overwhelm or enter conversations? What do you do when you're in those rooms?
There's a small amount of, I'd say, preparation. If you're going to be speaking to certain people, obviously I want some background and I want to have some questions thought out or things that I want to share with them, right? So that it's thoughtful. That doesn't always work out in the moment. So you do kind of have to wing it. But I think that, again, just the preparation for me, it's really helpful. Also, if you're kind of on the fly, having just some questions that you're comfortable asking. Doesn't have to be the normal networking questions or things like that. So I think it's finding what for you drives that engagement, right? That feels natural and you can just pull it out without having to truly think about it. Not like, oh, what was that top 5 question that I saw in this article, right? It takes some practice like other things. And if, you need to take a moment, take a moment. Sit out a presentation, get 15 minutes away, whatever it is to kind of reframe yourself, reset, and go back. So
I love that. Giving permission to anybody listening. It's okay to take a break, right? Especially in those types of situations where you feel like, oh, I got to get the most out of my money or the most out of this opportunity. I'm hearing tones of thinking in abundance versus scarcity here. And then also being able to recognize what you need to take care of yourself, right? To show up in the way that you would like to.
Yeah, I think there's nothing worse than when you feel like you've shown up sort of in a poor way, right? Or you're tired, you're grumpy. Like we all have those days. So if you know that's something that could happen, how do you prevent it from taking over your day or taking over that conversation, right? So just little things can make a big difference, but you have to kind of figure out what those are and have them in your back pocket. So.
Absolutely. I talked to some of my clients about this, and I loosely describe it as safety planning, but it's part of that, right? Like there's a spectrum of how your feelings can come up and then how that can affect you in the room, whether it's in a conference, a business conference, or at like a family gathering or etc. But being able to recognize when that comes up for you and how you're going to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
So I'm going to flip the the virtual tables. If there's any questions you have for me, I am open and willing. You can ask me anything that you want, or we can also just wrap up here.
No, well, Kana, you are also an excellent community builder. And so I would love to understand from your perspective, what has made you successful in this arena? Like, what are the little things that you pride yourself on doing on a regular basis that bring you joy, that also connect you to the people that you care about?
Thank you. I think like I'm going to double down on the follow-up, right? Making sure that you follow up with those people that you want to talk to. Remembering kind of even just the little things, like knowing that, I don't know, someone is gluten-free and or vegan or has a certain dietary preference. Knowing that and then taking the extra step, if you're hosting, for example, do what you can. I think that makes a really big difference. If you're not hosting and it's sort of just general relationship building, it's kind of become a little bit cliche, but saying yes when somebody invites you to something, even if you don't know what it is, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll show up. And you show up and you have no idea what you're doing, but you show up and you shake some hands and you make some introductions, or you get introduced to some people, and something or nothing might come of it. But I don't know. I kind of always feel like there's always something that happens when you are in community with people, because nothing really ever happens if you stay home. So, I mean, you can virtually Zoom with people, but there's still a big difference than virtually seeing somebody. And yes, like catch up with your people, stay in touch, consistently check in, do that over Zoom, do that over a phone call. But when there's an opportunity to see people in person, say yes and do what you can to like make it happen.
I love that. I love that a lot. I would love to actually ask a follow-up question, because the thing that's been on my mind a lot lately are the systems behind some of these things. And do you have a system that helps you, like prompts you to follow up with someone or help you remember that they're gluten-free? Do you have things there that are set up in the background, or do you just have an amazing memory and you just happen to remember it all the time? Which I'm assuming
That's a great question. And I think you give me a lot more credit than I deserve as far as my organizational skills. So I will say a lot of it is memory, which is interesting, I suppose. I think I'll lean on my restaurant life. It was a previous life of mine, but running restaurants and knowing your customers and knowing like their preferences, right? When I was running Katsuya, that was one of the big things. Like you knew what each person coming in, like some of your regulars or the celebrities or whatever it is, they have very particular preferences. And, and the expectation is high that you remember those preferences. Now, our secret at the restaurant at that time was to use open table notes. And I would always go straight to the computer and type in whatever random, like if this person loved ponzu sauce and it's not something that's normally delivered to the table, I would always add that to their profile. The next time they show up, ponzu sauce would just show up at the table too. So immediately you don't even ask for it.
Surprise and delight.
Yes, exactly. You know what? This is a system that I did have. So in my notes, in my contacts, once you load somebody's contact, I'll put a note in there about whether it's where we met or if there's something quirky I found out about them. I might make a note about that. Another tip, I guess there's more systems that are coming out that I didn't even know I had, but another tip is I'll take selfies with the people that I meet at these places, and then I'll text it to them or I'll LinkedIn to them a message and say, hey, it was so great to meet you at whatever the place was that we met, and then do a follow-up note to that. And this way there's a face to the name. And then sometimes I'll actually screenshot their LinkedIn page if I'm meeting like quite a few people and like connecting with them a lot at the event. This happened at like LA Tech Week, where I was meeting with like too many people at the same time, and I didn't want to forget. And so I would just sort of connect and then screenshot so that I could look at it afterwards.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's smart. I've recently started doing the once you connect on LinkedIn at an event, going back and then sending a quick note to say, hey, it was great to meet you at XYZ event, so that you have some reference for the conversation and where you met them.
Yeah. I can't take credit for the selfie. I learned that at a Backstage Capital demo day ages ago. And
Cool.
This woman that I met, I think she was actually in the PR community. She took a selfie of me and her and sent it to me. And I was like, oh, I am stealing that one. Because we go to all these events and stuff, and year after year, and you're just like, who is this person? Where did I meet them? What did we talk about? And so if ever you can leave a note about the thing that you guys talked about too, right? That just gives you a really nice segue into the next conversation that you can have.
Amazing. Yep. I love that.
Yeah.
I have to try that out.
Yeah. And I think consistently scheduling, like just having something on the books, even if you have to move it. You and I do this a lot. Like we'll just put something in the calendar, and then if something comes up, that's okay. We'll just move it. But it gives us an sort of a system in and of itself, right? To consistently check in and follow up. I think the other thing that I try to do is if something reminds me of somebody, it could be super random, which most of the time it's very random, but I'll see it. And if the thing reminds me of the person, I'll immediately send them a quick note and just say hi. Because like, it's not that we have to have this long conversation or anything like that. I'll say hi. I might send a photo and then be like, I thought of you.
It's so true.
And how are you?
Yeah. So many times we try to make it has to be something more substantial, but yeah, sometimes saying hi, thinking about you is what you need to like make your day. So
yeah. Because I know that if somebody else did that for me, it puts a smile on your face. It helps you get through whatever hard thing is happening at that moment.
Yep. I agree.
Well, Christy, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us at
having
All
me.
the Things. I look forward to our next conversation.
Awesome. Same.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.